Hello, I'm Maryam Moshiri. In the business news, Tesco Bank has halted online payments for current account customers after money was taken from 20,000 accounts. The bank's chief executive, Benny Higgins, told the BBC he was very hopeful customers would be refunded within 24 hours. Customers will still be able to use their cards for cash withdrawals, chip and PIN payments and bill payments. They can also use online payments in banking but cannot make online transactions until the situation is back under control. Household debts have spiralled to a whopping £1.5 trillion in the UK for the first time, according to new statistics. Indebtedness is growing at its fastest rate since before the credit crunch in 2008. So says Money Charity, which compiled the statistics. UK adults owe an average of nearly £30,000 each, mostly in mortgages, but also in loans and credit cards. 83% of the country's annual economic output. Ryanair has raised its long-term traffic forecast by 10% and it predicts it's going to be carrying more than 200 million passengers a year by March 2024. The airline says it believes it can deliver profitable growth across Europe despite the uncertainty of Brexit. However, the UK's vote to leave the EU meant that Ryanair had reduced its planned UK growth in 2017 from 12% to around about 5%. The news comes as the airline reported a 7% increase in its first half profits. The Prime Minister is in Delhi to pave the way for the UK's first post-Brexit trade deal. Visa issues risk dominating Theresa May's first trade trip since becoming Prime Minister. But she expects to announce a number of deals during her trip, including a £1.2 million manufacturing plant for rail projects, a £50 million imaging and diagnostic centre in Chennai, and a £350 million investment from UK startup CloudPad in high-tech electronics manufacturing in Kochi. But how much can she really get done before the UK works out its trading arrangements with the EU after it leaves? Well, Ali Renison is Head of Europe and Trade Policy at the Institute of Directors and joins us now. Ali, thanks for joining us. First of all, what exactly is Theresa May hoping to get from the Indians? And what exactly is India hoping to get from us?
I think we have to remember that there's a limited amount in terms of actually forging or negotiating and planning even for trade deal negotiations that the government can do right now. A lot of the areas that you would traditionally see in a trade agreement, tariff issues, even labour mobility, that's really sort of has to be worked out after the UK knows what its own position is after the Brexit negotiation is done. So I think what this visit is about is really trying to sort of lay the foundations for a working group, for example, to be set up between the UK and India to try and sort of set out what are some of the issues that they can work on towards now in terms of deepening trade ties.
Absolutely, because one wonders, what is the sense of having these sort of discussions before we've even left the European Union?
It depends on what you're talking about. I think that, if we look at the issues around visas, this is a long-standing issue, almost a red line of sorts for India. And one of the reasons that the EU-India trade deal talks really sort of stalled and have yet to be relaunched properly is over this issue. So I think that the UK government is going to find very quickly that it's still an issue for them going forward.
And of course, in India, if you look at the Indian economy, it's the financial market, in particular the insurance market, which is the big draw, isn't it? Not only for the UK, but also for the EU. How likely is it that we're going to get access to that lucrative market?
Well, this is one of the areas where you see a trade deal really could make a difference in terms of unlocking some of that protectionism. And I think it will come down, as most trade agreements do, to trade-offs, concessions, potentially, if the UK is willing to move on facilitating labour mobility in terms of making it easier to get visas for Indian workers to come to the UK and vice versa, then you might see India move on opening up its financial services market. I think we have to remember that Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, is a pro-business politician, but he's also a nationalist politician, which means that he's really focused on boosting domestic production in India. So it's going to take quite a bit of effort for the UK to make sure that those markets are opened up to UK businesses.
And also, I suppose the main question one must ask is how likely is it that we're going to start opening up or relaxing visa rules that we've only just really tightened for students in particular and business travel?
Yeah, the IOD is very clear that this needs to be something that we see in terms of as a cornerstone to future trade agreements, that making it easier for people to move, skilled labour to move between the UK and India and with other countries is really important for trade agreements going forward. OK, Ali Renison, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Let's take a look at some of the other day's business stories we're following today. And annual house price inflation in the UK is now at its lowest rate since July 2013. That's according to Britain's largest mortgage lender, the Halifax. It fell to 5.2% in the year to the end of October. That's down from 5.8% in the previous month. Checking out the currency figures, well, the pound is around about 1% down today, briefly going back under $1.24 before recovering. This reflects the dollar strengthening rather than a weaker pound. The pound is doing better than it was this time last week. The British drinks firm Fever-Tree has said its profits will be materially better than expected in a trading update to the stock exchange. The company that makes mixes such as tonic water and lemonade said it's continued to perform strongly in the second half of the year. Let's take a look at how the markets are faring today. Of course, it is a big day in the United States, the day before the election of a new president. But in terms of London, the FTSE is up at the moment, around about 1.5%. HSBC, you saw its symbol a little bit earlier behind me. It was there because it's a big story today. It's one of the big winners, despite posting an 86% fall in its profits. And its share price currently is up nearly 5% despite that fall. Also, we've seen other problems as well in terms of Tesco Bank. It, of course, has come out today and warned its customers about fraud, about people taking money out of around 20,000 accounts. Its share price has been affected too, but generally the markets are looking pretty positive ahead of what's going to be a massive day tomorrow and, of course, Wednesday. That's all the business from me. Joanna, back to you.
See you later. Thank you very much, Maryam.